To trade or not trade All-Star Frankie Lindor? That's the dilemma facing the Cleveland Indians. We'll explain why this is very complicated. Are you fun size or full size 2 days from now when you hand out candy for Halloween? We'll talk about that. Plus, the show is going to the dogs. Literally, pups in costumes as you enjoy your Tuesday lunch break.
It's your lunch break with Jay Crawford.
And welcome into Lunch Break for Tuesday, October 29th. I'm Jay Crawford, joined by Maureen Kyle, and also Andrew Horansky is at the desk with us. Andrew, good to see you. He's here because we have breaking news on this Tuesday. The Most Reverend Richard Lennon, Bishop Emeritus of the Catholic Diocese of Cleveland, has died.
Yeah, Andrew, he served as bishop here from 2006 until his retirement in 2016. And a very interesting legacy that he leaves behind.
He certainly does. Well, I think there were two Richard Lennons. There's the public persona that, of course, many people in Cleveland will think of, remembering that he had to close a number of churches in Cleveland. But I think there's also a private side. And if you talk to people over at the diocese, people who he knew closely, a deeply spiritual man, someone who used to visit people in the hospital who were sick late at night. In front of the cameras, he had one personality. I think when the cameras turned off, that was probably the warmer, better one that people are remembering him by today.
Yeah.
In the media, in the public eye, you mentioned that he was, I don't want to say bristly, but he didn't exactly feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, it almost felt like he really didn't care what people thought of him. I mean, he truly was a one-of-a-kind guy. The first time I got to meet him was actually as a reporter when I worked at a television station in Boston, and that was in the wake of the church abuse crisis. He had to deal with a really difficult congregation there, repairing a community under cardinal law that in many ways was as divided as it's ever been and may ever be. And then from there, he comes to Cleveland, where he has to deal with fiscal issues, churches that need to be closed, balancing the budget. And again, you're not going to win a popularity contest when you find yourself having to be thrust as the face and the poster child of those tough decisions. And so you're absolutely right, Jay. If you talk to him as a reporter, as you saw here with Russ Mitchell, he was professional. He was not the warmest. Yeah. And, but you talk to people who were in his circle, and they would tell you that wasn't him.
And I think a lot of people understand, even though he was the face of the closures, they knew that that was what he was brought in to do.
Right.
And that's just the last few years that we really saw him out front, was to close down these churches and be the guy who had to do the dirty work.
He was the messenger.
He was the messenger. Yeah. He really was.
Never envied the position that he had to be in, either in Boston or in Cleveland. And when people talk about his professional legacy, I think those are the first things they think about. But again, this was a deeply spiritual man, leaning conservative, traditionalist. I know he used to wear that frock, and just a very interesting person who kind of represented both sort of the traditional times, and he was thrust into the modern times.
Yeah.
Andrew Horansky, thank you very much.
Sure.
We appreciate it.
Of course.
Lennon's successor, the Most Reverend Nelson J. Perez, said of Lennon, quote, "In his service to the diocese, Bishop Lennon showed a deep dedication to the faithful governance of the diocese and a tremendous love of the church and the people he shepherded. May the Lord grant him eternal rest." Of much less consequence today, a dilemma facing the Cleveland Indians. Has Frankie Lindor played his final game in an Indians uniform? I know that's very hard for some people to comprehend. Here's the setup. We know Frankie is one of the best young players in the game. He is a four-time All-Star. He does have 2 years left on his current contract. When that contract is done, Maureen, it is likely that Frankie Lindor will fetch in excess of $25 million per year.
Wow.
Some believe he could entertain offers of $30 million a year. Now, obviously, that's not Cleveland Indians money.
No.
And we've seen the history of Cleveland Indians baseball. We do a great job of drafting and recognizing this talent, but oftentimes it seems like we're a feeder system for the other teams, for the big markets, the Yankees and the Dodgers and the like, because when those initial contracts come up, they need big money.
Yeah.
The Indians made him an offer before the start of last season. He turned it down. So now they're starting to think about the future. The Yankees have already shown great interest in Frankie Lindor, as have the Dodgers now. The Dodgers just ended a disappointing season. They won 106 in the regular season, lost in the first round of the playoffs. They're looking at Frankie and saying he could be the guy. So, trade him or keep him.
Okay, can I just speak as the heartbroken fan?
Please.
Because when you guys, and I don't mean like you sports guys, but like Dave will go off on the morning about like, oh, we're 2 games behind, and I'm not that kind of statistician.
Okay.
Like I am the fan who just knows the name and knows that he's good and knows that he is an integral part of the team.
And you don't want to lose him.
I don't want to lose him.
Right.
I'm heartbroken if Lindor leaves. And I know it's a money game and I know it's a budget thing, but you know, to keep people and fans going back to Progressive Field every season, you're going to need those big names.
See, that's the good point. I think that for next year, you still have a World Series caliber team. You do. The pitching is there for the Cleveland Indians. My thinking is keep them for next season, and then if you're going to deal them after next season, or you can even hold them until the All-Star break of 2021. But you don't want to get nothing for them.
Right.
Okay, so the Washington Nationals recently had Bryce Harper, who's one of the faces of the game as well. They offered him $26 million a year. They ended up playing it out, and then they lost him. So they lost him to a team that just offered more money. Cleveland knows they can't offer that kind of money. So it's a question of what do you get for him and when do you trade him. By the way, the Nationals let Bryce Harper walk. They got nothing in return. They're 2 wins from winning the World Series.
I know.
They're also 1 win from being eliminated. But without Bryce Harper, somehow they soldiered on.
Hey, however the puzzle pieces fit, I just want to be those people who are 2 wins away from the World Series. That's all I'm saying.
I do too. I'd like to win a World Series as a fan at one point. Okay, Maureen, this is a big question, and it's really going to shine a light on who you are. The doorbell rings.
Pressure's
Ding
on.
dong, trick or treat. Are you giving out fun-size candy, or are you going full-size, regular Hershey bar, Snicker bar?
I'm a fun size. I'm a fun size. Only because it's so easy to buy the huge bag of fun size at Costco, because that's what I have time for. And like most of my neighbors, we're all just trading candy. We should just skip the whole thing and buy a bag and keep it for ourselves, because we're just trading the same Costco candy.
And buy the candy that you like, because inevitably you get the Bit O' Honey. And is anybody with me on this? And I'm like, I don't want. What do I do with this?
I liked the Bit O' Honey. I didn't discriminate. But you admitted to me before the show that at one point you did give out the king size.
So it's all based on, I think, the size of the neighborhood that you live in.
Okay.
If I currently live on a street in a neighborhood that probably has 12 homes, so you could go full size because you're not going to get a ton of traffic. But once upon a time, I lived in a neighborhood with over 100 homes. And that's when you have to go fun size, because there's no way you're going to buy 100 full-size Snickers and start handing them out. It's kind of cost prohibitive.
Yes, you have to be frugal about this kind of stuff. And as the mother of a 1-year-old who is technically walking and could go trick-or-treating, and somebody, gives them not the fun size, the full size.
That's the super size.
This is coming to me. Which is like, depending
Mommy
on the
needs this
moment, I'm like, could be really good. Or when I go to put on my pants, really bad.
Well, it's funny. As a kid, I knew every house in the neighborhood that participated in the full size. I went to them first so I could hit them a second time as Halloween was ending, and they wouldn't remember me.
The full size family moved out of my neighborhood a couple of years ago, and I knew them as the full size candy family. And I was like, oh,
and that's a loss to the neighborhood.
I didn't know their last names, but I knew that they were the full size candy family.
So what happens when the new family moves into that house? You take them a plate of brownies,
like, hey.
and you say, just so you know, the family that lived here before was super popular because they gave out the full size.
Right, so no pressure.
All right. We always, every day, like to tell you what's big in Cleveland. What are you talking about today? We call it Clicking in Cleveland, and our digital anchor, Stephanie Haney, is here for that. Hi, Steph.
Hey, guys. We are feeling very introspective, very retrospective today on Twitter. What's trending is what would you redo? I think you'll see a little bit of a trend here. Jan Gilson says she would redo her hair in the 80s.
Wow. That was
80s
some hair.
Coming up on Halloween. I don't know, maybe she should bring it back, wait a little bit before she does that. Then we have Simbra75 user says that they would redo their Vegas vacation.
Whoa.
Not a bad choice.
Well, what happens there stays there, so it doesn't matter.
It stays there, so you can redo it as many times as you want.
Oh, no.
Then we've got Cheryl Rick Klein, who says she would redo cutting off her bangs at the age of 5 years old.
Oh, Cheryl.
Ooh, a lot of people are probably with her there.
Yeah, only I was 8.
And then also maybe just getting enough sleep last night. That was another thing she'd like to redo. Here's one that you don't hear a lot. Math class always gets a bad rap, but Regina Spacula says she would redo math class because she's actually using it a lot later in her life.
Yeah, you need it. It does come in handy.
I'm going to stick with this trend myself. I dyed my hair red once. I'm going to say I would go back and redo that.
Yeah.
So red was not for you?
Red was not for me. No.
Yeah.
Would you guys redo anything?
You know what? who was it that said math class? Like, I wish I would have like really studied a little bit harder in high school.
Yeah.
I think I was having a little more socializing.
I didn't take, when you asked me earlier this morning, I didn't know that it meant fashion trends. So on fashion trends.
Are you going to say this jacket? Because I love it.
No,
okay,
I would do this again, actually.
Good. I hope you do it again in 2 weeks.
Mike Polk bought the same jacket. And when he sees me in this, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" So we're planning to wear it on the same day.
Oh, let me know.
Stay
I'll
tuned
match.
for that.
Yeah.
Mike and I at some point will wear this together. I would probably rethink the mullet in high school.
Oh,
yeah.
But it's so classic now when you have the mullet picture from back in the day.
Yeah, but the pictures, not cute. Next on the menu, a mother and daughter's bond strengthened as they both fought for their lives. How they battled breast cancer together. Lunch break, coming right back. Welcome back to Lunch Break. October is, as you probably know, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we want to recognize the prevention and treatment of breast cancer.
Yeah, Lindsay Buckingham talked to one survivor who was diagnosed right after her mom found out that she also had cancer.
I go for my annual mammogram every year.
Tiffany Smith, a patient navigator at University Hospitals, says this year was different.
I forgot about it.
In a twist of fate, Tiffany's mom, Peggy, who lives in South Carolina, called to say her own mammogram came back abnormal. She urged her daughter to get screened.
So I went and got my mammogram at that point. 4 days later, she called me back and said that hers came back positive for breast cancer.
It was a no-brainer. Tiffany had to be with her mom.
So my mom called me and told me her surgery was scheduled for June 6th, but they called me on June 4th and told me that mine came back positive for breast cancer as well.
Mother and daughter diagnosed 2 weeks apart. Tiffany, stage 2. Peggy, stage 1.
I was very sad because that's my mom. She's 70, and the thought of her having breast cancer at this time of her life, it was very upsetting because I couldn't be with my mom. I'm her only child, so it was a very emotional time.
In a selfless act of love, Tiffany insisting her 2 daughters stay with their grandma during treatment. Back in Ohio, she tackled the fear head on.
If it spread it, am I gonna die? Just the unknown. My fiance immediately came home and we just sat and cried.
It was terrifying. But when she returned to work,
The team supported me very emotionally. During the whole ordeal, they sent me cards every week. We had a big meeting right before I had surgery. Everybody wore pink.
a lumpectomy and radiation, the effects painful to see.
Just looking in the mirror one day and you see all this dark burn marks, your breast is abnormal. And I just bust out crying.
On the last day, a moment of triumph. Tiffany's mom also thriving after surgery. Finally, it was time for a reunion.
The first time I saw her, all I could do was grab her and hug her, and that's all she could do for me because we both been through a traumatic deal and we wasn't there with each other to support each other.
Her career helping patients navigate their care. Now, a life lesson she'll never forget.
Make sure you get that mammogram once a year. Just make sure you do that self-examination.
For the future, she's got a bright one, an upcoming marriage, a strong support system, and an unshakable spirit.
Positive attitude makes a big difference in your outcome. Positive spirit will get you through.
Lindsay Buckingham, 3 News.
And it's stories like that we air in October for the purpose of, you heard her say she skipped a couple mammograms and a couple exams, and then she found out that she had cancer. So that is why October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, so that you go and get the screenings that you need to do.
Obviously, early detection leads to a better chance of beating breast cancer and all cancers. Much more ahead when Lunch Break comes right back. Stay with us.
Next on the menu, Happy Halloween, how your 4-legged family members can get in on the Halloween fun.
One, two.
Welcome back to Lunch Break. I happen to think this is the greatest pet costume in the history of pet costumes. And I love the sideways eyes.
I know.
From the little dog with the, I guess the Chucky costume?
Yeah.
And the little fake knife swinging as he walks. He is such a boss.
A French bulldog is like the perfect for that too, with the eyes.
I know, he really
out.
is. He's got the burglar
So
face.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's classic. All right, there are a lot of pet costumes out there that you can choose for your pet for Halloween, and I was fascinated by this number. According to the National Retail Association, Americans will spend $500 million on pet costumes this year.
I believe it. I don't have a pet, and I've wanted to buy a few.
So today, we're going to help you find the perfect one, and we're doing that with a great costume fashion show. That's why we have a little red carpet out here.
We have a little red carpet.
We're very excited about this.
Yeah, and we have the most adorable models. They are adoptable dogs from City Dogs Cleveland. So we have Isley Esler here, the adoption coordinator, to tell us all about the dogs, and Marco Gomez with Meyer is here to talk about the pet fashion items that you have. And these are available in the stores, so if you do have a pet, you can. And if you don't have a pet, these dogs are available, right, Izzy?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so who do we have
adorable
first?
too.
Oh my gosh.
So who's first up on the runway, Izzy?
First up, we have Dora. And she's wearing...
Hi, Dora.
So Dora's wearing a UPS driver costume here.
Oh my
I thought that's what that was.
How old is Dora?
Dora's around 2 or 3, so, you know, young adult. She's really playful, really affectionate. She's been giving everybody hugs and kisses ever since she arrived at the studio. So really playful, but, you know, knows how to mellow out, too.
What's the costume go for?
$12.99.
Oh, that's very affordable.
That's cute with the arms and everything.
Oh, and there goes the hat. The best
That was
laid
perfect
plans.
timing. You know, that's what you do at the end of the runway. You take off the hat or the coat, you know?
Right,
So Dora's
right.
got it down.
You got
All right,
it,
Dora, you did a great job.
Okay, who's next, Izzy? Don't forget your hat.
So next up, we've got Bridget. Hi,
My sister's
Bridget
name
ignored
is
the red
Bridget.
carpet.
Hi, Bridget. So what is Bridget dressed up as?
So Bridget is dressed up with a Snoopy ride-along costume. So there's a couple different versions of the Peanuts, and this one here is Snoopy.
I love it. And how old is Bridget?
Bridget's a few years old. She's currently living in a foster home, and she's got great manners, housebroken, crate trained, all that. So she's ready to go.
Beautiful.
How much does the ride-along costume go for?
$12.99 as well.
$12.99. Is that pretty standard
Yeah,
for
that's
most
pretty
of these?
standard for all the pets costumes that we carry.
Okay.
The price is
Izzy
right.
wanted
I
nothing
mean,
to
these
do
are
with
so
the red
cute.
carpet, and now she wants to go look at this large television.
All right, Bridget.
And take a
gorgeous
nap,
coloring.
perhaps.
Bridget. All right, so
Thank you. Let's go.
Bridget, we'll give you your space and your time to get off the red carpet. And then, who's next? Because
Next we have Piper.
Piper had the paws out like the brakes were on.
Hi,
Piper.
Piper. Unicorn Piper.
Yeah, so tell us about Piper.
Piper is one of our slightly older dogs. She's around 7. She's got a little bit of arthritis going, and she came into the kennel heartworm positive. But she is like the sweetest, most mellow lady. So we're looking for somewhere special to go for her.
Marco, I love how these have a hole in the back for the leash.
Put the leash right through.
Perfect.
Again, about $12.99.
Yes.
All right.
That's beautiful. Okay, who do we have next, Izzy?
Last but not least, we've got Captain Oates.
Captain's a camera hog. Look at him.
Captain Oates.
And you
Look
can't
at,
really
oh,
get
he's
cuter.
fascinated
Oh my
by the
gosh.
camera.
Isn't
Hi,
today
Captain.
Tuesday? Today's
buddy.
Tuesday,
It
right?
is
Taco
Taco
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
that's
Captain
right.
Oates. You got the perfect costume.
Oh. Well, maybe he doesn't,
doesn't
like the
like
camera so much.
cameras. Okay.
Careful, Johnny.
Come here, Captain.
How old is Captain
He's
Oates?
a couple years old.
Okay.
He's a little scared of the camera. That's okay, buddy. Come here. He's like, I don't know about that.
I think the camera's down at his level, and he's not so sure about
Right,
it.
right,
that's
yeah.
okay. He's like-
But you know what? He's killing it with the taco costume.
We're just a little excited, huh?
Our cameraman Gianni backed up as far as he could without getting out of the room. He's like,
Oh,
I
he's
like
a sweet-
dogs,
He's
but
a sweet dog, though.
Yeah.
So.
Oh my gosh. All right. So if anybody is interested in adopting any of the dogs today, they contact you. How do they go about it?
Yeah, so the kennel's located 9203 Detroit. We've got our new kennel facility that opened in March. We'd love for you to come see it. We've got 90 dogs available for adoption right now. These are just 4 of our favorites, and we'd love to find them all a home. Feel free to email or call. I think we'll have a screen with our information up there.
Great.
And yeah, we'd love to see
let's
you.
bring all of the dogs back in. I can honestly say I spent some time with all of the dogs before the show. They are so sweet, all of them.
Really?
And we would love to find them homes. Marco, before we go, is there one costume that's the slam dunk home run this year?
Yeah, you know the unicorn is a big hit. Comes in many different sizes, so depending on the size of your animal, you can come and get it. So you said it earlier. There's about 29 million Americans will dress up their pets for Halloween. So we have the costumes for you.
I have 2 Goldens. Awesome. We experimented with costumes, but they do the strangest thing. Maureen, when we put the costume on them, it doesn't matter what it is, they absolutely turn to statues. They won't move. And I can say, treat, and go to the other side of the room.
He knows.
They're frozen.
You're getting them excited.
Do you want a treat?
All of a sudden.
Oh. Yeah, it's funny. They just, once you put the costume on them, they're stuck.
Sure.
Oh my
They're
gosh,
like
that's
cement.
riot.
Marco, Izzy, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, doggies.
Dogs are precious.
Yep.
Yeah.
More lunch break right after this.
Oh, I know.
And welcome back to Lunch Break. Here's the proof. Stephanie, there you go. There's the mullet. I told you it was a choice.
Amazing.
It was a choice. Well, you look at that mop. That was my student ID picture my freshman year at Bowling Green.
Gosh. At least you have like curl to your hair, and so you know, it was a stylish mullet. It wasn't like the straight punk rock.
When you say you would redo it, I want you to do it again.
Yeah.
That's what I want you to do.
Yeah, so does my wife.
You know what? Thanks again to Meyer for bringing in all the costumes for the doggies.
Thanks for making 3 News a part of your afternoon. Watch us live wherever you are, on our website, on our apps, and on Hulu and Roku. No matter where you are, 3 News is there.